Hey, Cardinals fans, welcome back to the Redbird Rundown, presented by I-70 Sports, your home for all things St. Louis Cardinals. And I'm Andy, here with Jonathan and Matt. And while we don't have Cardinals baseball to talk about, as in we're still playing, we did have some things happen this week that we want to talk about. But first, just a reminder to share us on Spotify and Apple with your friends. That reach helps us tremendously. So thank you for doing that and listening to us every week, pleading for that. Thank you. They can also be found on Facebook, Blue Sky, and Twitter, and you can watch us on YouTube. So today, what we're going to be talking about in today's pod is going to catch up and the MLB playoffs, which again the Cardinals are not a part of. And then we're going to talk about Mo had a presser as well as Chaim, just the changing of the guards at the here and what they kind of talked about, the direction, the lack of good questions from the press corps. Shots are fired at you, press corps. You guys asked the same question 10 different ways, and it drove me a little crazy
Mm.
watching that. So
Uh,
they walked into the same answer. I'm not kidding, like 10 times. It was the same answer. So before we jump into all of that, after watching and listening and reading about these pressers, I want to get Jonathan your vibe check about the state of the Cardinals organization right now.
all right, I'm gonna take a hard right turn. You ready for this?
Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. I felt my vibe check about the pressers was I feel safe. I feel safe.
Mm, mm.
Heim makes me feel safe. He tucked me in. He put the multiple seatbelts on in the car. He said all the right
He
things.
did
I
say the
read all
right
the
things.
pieces. I feel good. But my real vibe check is I am so jealous of all of these playoff teams. I was
Mm.
watching the Padres and the Cubs earlier, and I can't stand the Cubs, but my gosh, Wrigley was really loud in the top of the first when Jameson Taillon was pitching. And I'm just like, wow, do I miss that?
Mm.
Because we are not having that right now, and I just really miss it. There is nothing like that, and I'm really jealous.
So to cut in real quick, I was talking about this with the only person I can talk sports with in my life other than you two.
Hmm.
And he was talking about how he used to be a Dodgers fan growing up as a kid, and then one day he went to a St. Louis versus Dodgers game and at Busch, Old Busch,
Mm.
and he became a Cardinals fan because of what you just described. Like
Ah,
that enthusiasm and that community coming together enticed him so much that he enjoyed that. So that was a cool thing. I think
that's
that can
sweet.
just, bounce off what you just said, that there is something truly electric about a community coming together and being that excited.
He
Like
may
I
want to
said,
reinvestigate his Dodgers fandom, though. I mean, they're
I mean, he's still
they're set
he has a
up.
dual fandom.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's not bad.
So there is something to that. It's
Yeah,
something like I've remembered about and talked about in the pod about sitting around a campfire listening to Cardinals baseball and just
Hmm.
hearing the
sure,
entire campground, cheer
sure.
because the Cardinals were happening. So,
Yeah.
Matt, take us through your vibe check. What is happening in your mind with these Cardinals?
All right. I first want to tell the listeners, and I think this is good to tell them, we're planning to go and stay on our same schedule every single week all the way through the off season. So Redbird Rundown podcast is here for you. We will have content that looks backwards. We'll have content that look forwards. And occasionally we may throw in a Christmas stocking or two. Like we'll do something kind of fun. But we're going to be here. So if you're new to our podcast, welcome. If you're kind of casting about for Cardinals content, we are going to keep pumping it out all winter long for you. My vibe check, Jonathan, your right turn was, I expected you to say something different. I have a right turn. I was underwhelmed a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think I like what Heim said, and
Yeah.
this is in retrospect, this is probably unreasonable of me. I just wanted a little more venom. Like I wanted a little more red meat. I needed, as the fan, I wanted a little more satisfaction. And I realized his bosses are sitting right. He's
Yeah.
sitting between the owners of the Cardinals. He's
Mhm.
not just going to rip the franchise. But I wanted a little bit more. I really did.
You
I
thought he
did.
might roll in with like Jordan Walker's contract and like tear it
No, I did
mid
not.
presser.
I did not think that. I didn't think he was gonna like Tywin Lannister,
Yeah.
like skin a stag on stage. Nothing
Uh,
like that.
yeah.
But he was reasonable. He was measured. He said the right things. You're right. He tucked me in too. But I wanted somebody to kind of punch me in the face a little bit, and that didn't
Oh,
happen. And I'm also underwhelmed by our team because, like you said, Jonathan, I've been watching some of these playoffs
Ah.
games. I'm like, man, we don't have guys like this. We do not have guys like these guys have guys. So
I would agree with that. I think that's kind of what I talked about the other week when we talked about the most send off that we had about the fact of Matt, you just described what the St. Louis, like what the Midwest vibe is. Like,
Mm,
don't do the ivory tower, like,
mhm.
oh, say the right things, be professional. Just be true and honest. Like, he did say some things that were true and honest, but yes, just the act of saying everything PR, like completely perfect. And I know I just gave heat to the press corps, but some of that also is the same thing. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
they can't.
Hmm.
I their ability to come back and report to the Cardinals is also to the guys sitting in that room, most likely. I don't know
Mhm.
for sure, but I would imagine that that's how that works, right? Like Derek Gold can't just walk in there and be like, yes, Bill, you are in the bottom third of spending compared to your
Why
income.
can't you? Why
I
can't
mean,
you?
I would do things like that.
Sure.
I'd flame too. But like, do I get invited back? Like,
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
get credentials? Like, you have to think about that as well. So I would imagine that that's why all this like patty cake type
Yeah, there's a
questions
little
are
bit of that.
happening. So my only vibe check that I have after watching those is, huh? Like, what was said?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That like, so it's in between you two. Like, more I guess with Matt. Like, I heard the things, but also we said all that. I just watched 27 minutes of my life, or 27 minutes of my life were taken up at 1.5 speed, so whatever that math is, uh, to say five sentences, maybe? Like we could summarize it in five things, is what I had. So before we get all the way into that, and we'll, if don't worry if you guys have not seen this Mo or Chaim press conference that they had, we'll recap what was said, some of the things that happened at that as we get into the nitty gritty. But first, I want to talk about baseball that is still happening. It's not all the way full football season yet. But the things that I watched this past week, I did see how our NL Central rivals were going to do in the playoffs. Uh, Jonathan or Matt, kind of walk us
Yeah.
through the Cubs Padres. I watched less of that. I watched more of the Dodgers Reds. So, Matt, why don't you take us through
I haven't
Cubs
seen an
Padres?
inning of the Cubs and Padres.
Okay.
I kind of hate both of those teams. I sort of wish they could both lose, kind of.
Yeah.
I so just highlights for me real quick. Otani just turning around the Hunter Green 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 118 over the
Disgusting.
fence, and
Amazing.
you know what? I was so happy that I was watching that because I
Yep.
said out loud to myself, "This is the best baseball player that there has ever been," and I'm so glad to get to watch it. He hit one later on. The tension in those Red Sox Yankees game is just through the
Mm.
roof
I love it.
amazing. I missed almost all Guardians Tigers because I
Yeah.
think the baseball like hid those.
They
You know what
did.
I mean? They
But
just
they played. I
Yeah.
like checked the scores, and it was like they were. It was like 1:30, and they were done. It felt like I was like, "What
yeah,
they play a
yeah.
10 a.m. game?"
They played
Like,
like a
Yeah.
5 inning
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, they stuffed those under the bed. So it's
Yeah.
been fun. It's also kind of a release to like kind of not have a rooting interest, just like, oh, that was a cool play. That was a cool play. I don't have to watch Michael. Like
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
kind of nice. I want my team to be there, but it's been a nice little experience, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So the thing that I was talking about today, I like the format, and again, I've been out of maybe this format's been around for a while. I like how quickly they're making these series go. Like
Hmm.
right here, the wild card series, like 3 games right in a row.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really good change whenever they change that and not drag it out forever.
Yep.
The what we were talking about, so the listener, the Dodgers swept the Reds. They won 2-0. So they're going to go play the Phillies. And so because that happened so quickly, you have to think that from a managerial standpoint, like who do I pitch in game one and game two of this series? Like, because like we're expected to win
Setting
or
up. Sure.
setting up
Hmm.
for the next series. And for the Dodgers, it's like, okay, you got Yamamoto and Snell, I think that pitched game one, and
Hmm.
Yamamoto too.
Hmm.
Here we're gonna send the third person out here to pitch the game one against the Phillies. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Shohei Ohtani. My fault. Sorry. What a great place to be as a Dodgers fan. That
Turns
Blast
the
around
out game
100 and
4. Yeah, sure.
turns
that the
around
NL MVP
118
is like,
in
yeah,
this,
we're gonna throw up the NL MVP out there on the mound for you guys. That's our
and let
third
him hit.
starter.
That NL MVP, that is over until Otani declined. You just can't. Sorry, Schwarber. Sorry, anybody else. It's just Otani. It is.
You know how they've made the NBA All-Star Game award the Kobe Bryant?
Yeah.
award. It
Yeah.
needs to be the Shohei Ohtani
It-
National League MVP award.
Like now.
While he's still playing.
Now, yes, today.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, one note about the Cubs and Padres. I only watched a little bit earlier today, but I saw a highlight of the second game. And if you don't know who Mason Miller is, you should just watch some of the recaps. He had a strikeout against Carson Kelly where he threw it 104 and it hit the bottom right square of the black. And I heard someone say this, or I read this, that someone was surmising that might be the best pitch in playoff history, was just right there. Like nobody in the world is hitting that. So this guy coming out throwing 104 is absolutely insane. The Dodgers beating the Reds, I think, was pretty chalk. Didn't we? We kind of all expected that.
I think the Reds were the Cardinals stand-in. Like had we squeaked in, that's exactly what would have happened to us.
I think the Mets, maybe they would have just snuck in. They maybe would have challenged a little bit more. I was surprised, though, if you look at the box scores, I thought that the Reds, their strength, and just a caveat, I don't know that much about all these teams, right? We're just in on the Cardinals. But the Reds pitching is what got them there.
Yeah.
And it didn't really feel like they used a lot of their pitchers. And I don't know if you're trying to teeter on, is there a game 3? You know, this is part of the calculus in these managerial decisions, like you were saying, Andy. What do you do? But if I'm Tito, I'm Francona, I'm throwing everything I have to just make it to the next round, especially against the Dodgers. So I was a little shocked to see that. But I haven't watched an inning of the other ones, Guardians and Tigers. That is funny. They 100% just like
they're always first.
Threw that under the rug. Yeah,
that thing was on Cartoon Network at like 8 in the morning.
No, Boomerang, bro.
yeah, Boomerang.
Dexter's Lab.
Doobie.
Guardians, Tigers.
Doobie. The only thing that I thought was the Red Sox Yankees was that our pal Steven Matz pitched. Pitched an inning last night. So
nice.
He didn't do anything awful. So good for you, Steven. All right,
and they hate each other, don't they? The Red Sox and the Yankees.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
That's an awesome wild card series.
It is.
All right, so let's get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. I'm fresh off the Mo and Chaim pressers. This happened on Monday, and then Tuesday we were recording on a Thursday. I just had time to watch that today. The things that Mo spoke about, he opened and he did the fluff piece of thanking everyone, which he should. I mean, I'm sure he was there for 30 years, basically, right? I'm sure there are relationships. It kind of felt like an Emmy, or Oscar acceptance award at the beginning. But things that stood out to me, that he acknowledged first and foremost, listener, that he said, quote, that the drum beat was getting louder on change happening, and he heard it. I think that was, to me, the most impressive thing, that you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I need to hang it up. That's what he was admitting to everyone. And I appreciated that candidness. It was masked in lots of other different kind of PR questions, but that one I liked. And I didn't know if you guys had any takeaways from that particular one, that just thinking about a man who's been on this for 30 years to just acknowledge the fact of I need to go. I need to go.
I was gonna say, the cynical part of me says I wish you would have heard that 3 years ago. That's the bad part.
Yeah.
The optimistic part is, Andy, I agree with you. He is recognizing it, and as soon as he said, like, I'm reading this quote, drum beat getting louder, my mind just goes to Lord of the Rings and these scenes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to do this. This is exactly my takeaway.
Like, you hear it coming over and it's like, it's ready. So
Mo, these are the loudest drums in the history of humanity. You think it's getting louder? Yeah, it's the Urukai. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, are loud. They are loud.
Yeah.
So he did take a moment to. He was giving a portion of his press conference where he talked about how he acknowledges mistakes. But then, and I agree with him, he basically said you can't, if you're going to be bold and be trying to innovate a new process, you're going to catch some L's, basically is what he was saying. And I have to agree with that like, there's some things that you're not going to do great on. Matt, do you have anything?
Yeah, he didn't do that, though. First of all, he wasn't bold. He never made the big move. And the innovation is what killed us. So I thought that was very weird for him to be talking about. Like, if you basically you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, Mo, you didn't take any shots and you let it decline over time. I do think that this whole thing, it is a little sad. I mean, this is a generational event for the Cardinals. This guy's been there for 30, I mean, literally a
Yeah, whole
generation.
generation.
It's sad that he couldn't go out in a better way, but ultimately the fault of him not going out in a better way rests on him. This was the
Yeah.
single weirdest thing he was talking about to me because I was like, Mo, look around at the drum beats, man. You're the drummer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to me.
Well,
Well, and you
go ahead, Jonathan.
no, I was, and you said innovation. That's exactly what I was going to say was it, or lack thereof. There was
Yes.
no innovation at the end. All he had to do was keep doing what had made us successful. And there was you kept talking about or referring to the press questions. There was one question that aligns directly to this section here where someone asked, do you have any regrets about
Yes,
some of the moves you made? And he
right.
said, no, just straight up,
He
I
said
have
no.
no regrets.
Yeah,
I thought, I mean, I have
that's
regrets
just not
every
canon,
day.
right? That's not being
Should I have eaten
honest.
that for breakfast? I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, like I would have been a little more, yeah, we didn't get them all right. Not, I have no regrets. I didn't think that came
It
off
was a
super.
weird one, but this is masked inside the portion. Like if we take it out of context, is what it seems like. But it was during the section where they're kind of talking about this small market, the headwinds of COVID, basically kind of pointing at the DeWitt family of the I don't know how many
This is
times
a big one for me. This section you're talking about.
Bill DeWitt saying that they're a small. He finally admitted. I think it was in the Chaim press conference that they're a mid-market team. We're a mid-market team, but at this one, I feel like it was just masked in this like we're a small market team. We want to be focused on player development, and so. I don't know if this is Mo giving the answer of like I did the best of what I had, and that's the only way he could say that, or something different. Jonathan, what do you think?
This out of all of the sections we're going to go through, this one I think irritated me the most, and I don't want to come off as like I'm super frustrated about this one, but Mo's really just left me my head scratching a little bit when he says that you're setting it up exactly right because that was the tone. It kind of felt like he was setting this up like he was handcuffed.
Yes.
COVID happened and
Yes.
the ballpark attendance is down. It's like, which is why you never should have stopped doing what made us successful. You're the reason we stopped doing this, right? I don't think that the DeWitts or the DeWallets, right, would have
Hmm.
closed the purse strings up if you said if we are going to continue to be successful, we've got to go all in on the minor leagues. So I just saw this as an interesting like you do realize you're talking about yourself, right? Like it rests on your shoulders as to why we stopped this. So it just begs the question, why did we deviate from that? Why? If I was going to ask him one honest question, truth serum, you got to answer this. It's between why'd you fire Schilt? I really got to know why. And why did we deviate from this path? This is what we were good at, and we just deviated. And now you're talking about other reasons that don't feel like the source.
Yeah, I mean, I think payroll matters, but it only matters to an extent. The Brewers have the 23rd payroll in baseball this year, and they won
Yeah.
96 games.
Yeah.
So we can
Yep.
spend more than the Brewer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't buy that. And I know that he's not going to sit up there and say, listen, the last 5 years was really bad on me. He's just not going to
Right.
do that
No.
because he has
Yeah.
had a long track record of success. But I was like, don't say these things. Don't say stuff that's like blatantly false that I can call you from literally podcasting from my basement. I can see with
Yeah.
my own eyes that that's not the case. And like, as far as the falling attendance numbers and stuff, buddy, you're the one that planted that garden. This
Yeah.
all happened under your watch. It was so weird because it's almost like he was talking about somebody else's tenure. And I'm like, John, this is you, man. There's you,
Yeah.
the president of baseball operations, the grand poobah, the emperor. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, I didn't get any of this, honestly.
So
Yeah.
help me understand. So he was talking because he talked about how what, and I might be mixing this up with Haim's press conference, but I feel like he definitely was walking through all the players. Like he started with like Rick Ankiel, and he talked about Rick,
Yep.
and drafting him, and like going like being bold. I think that's what he was talking about, being bold. Like 28 other teams passed on him, and we took him, and we. So he acknowledged the fact that the success of the Cardinals is to develop, and so he's like, we have a tent pole player like Pujols come up, and then that led into who did he say next? Like the Carlos Beltran
Yeah.
era, and then Matt Carpenter came up, and
Yeah.
we are able to add to him, or
Yeah.
add him to the mix, and that led into the Matt Holliday
Yeah.
and or the Goldie and Arnado. What was the name? Help me, because I feel awful that I'm even asking this question. The name. and I caught it and I lost it. What's the name of the guy that we thought was going to be middle of the order for us and
Mm,
died? Who was
Oscar
that?
Oscar Tavares. Oscar
Okay.
Tavares. Yeah.
He mentioned him as
yeah.
well. He said Oscar, and that's what his name was. So my question to you guys about all of that is, after he's reflecting through all that, you're still staying by the fact that at some point he did we just have bad luck where these things didn't develop, or he is not he missed the mark?
I mean, good job you drafted Rick Ankiel, but where were the bold strokes when Mike Trout went 28th? It just feels so cherry picked. Like, here's the
Yeah.
reality: you had a long track record of success, and then it just fell apart. There's no way around it. It ended badly. I'm really sorry about it. If you'd gone out 5 years ago, we would just be trumpeting you from the high heavens because we probably wouldn't realize all this stuff. And again, I understand you're not gonna like be negative about your own stuff, but you know what it did? It kind of explained to me how we got to this place because he seemed kind of clueless about what
Yeah.
was going on, like not even realizing his own moves. I was flummoxed.
I was too. And Andy, I'm glad you brought this up where he started with this long train of players he's mentioning of
Hmm.
successes. And
He
then
did.
I think honestly towards the end of this, it's the truest, maybe the truest thing he said the entire time was and then we got to Goldie and Arenado, and those guys lost a step, and we were not able to
Yes.
surround them with people. That is true. That was a problem. But this is where I just revert back to my prior question. Why did we deviate from continuing to try to bolster around them with our farm system? You're already talking about how he mentioned the whole Rick Ankiel thing because
Hmm.
we didn't have the money to go sign some free agents, so we had to take a big swing. You're saying everything that would add to the entire philosophy of drafting and developing. That is the part that I cannot get away from why we left that. Because none of what he said really matters if we know that. All of it's solved if we just continue to do that. If Arenado continues to falter, which he did, right? You are there's a little bit of padding and security because you have other guys. Now, can you blame Jordan Walker for not being good? Is that his fault?
Mm.
Well, I don't know. Indirectly, did we just completely fail all of these younger players because our minor league system had three guys working there and one of them was part time? I don't know.
I mean, we haven't had an impact pitcher come up in years. So
Yeah.
again, it's not like you're blind to what is happening with your own farm system. You can see other teams, you can see young stars develop, and you see a lack of that with the Cardinals. So I don't know. Listen,
This one was rough, Andy. Did you think that? Like, did you feel that
Mm.
when you were watching this? That
Here I had
ah,
two takeaways I haven't gotten to yet, and the one that irked me the most was when he was talking. Why he may not have been, and I might be projecting my how I felt about it, but he felt like he was whining when he was like, "And they never let me call it a rebuild. I had to keep giving winning baseball. I couldn't call it a rebuild." It felt whiny, and that theme like Bill DeWitt said that. We're like we don't like he said that himself as well, and even Heim it bled into the Heim the next day to where Heim's like he's really like crafty with that. Oh, we're always opportunistic, but we're always looking to the future, but we're opportunistic of the future. I was just like, okay, stop, like. Bill, if this is coming from you, knock
yeah,
it off.
DeWitt's a lot of the problem.
Knock it off. I hate
yeah,
this. You're making our guys look like whiny little dudes. Stop.
yeah.
If we need to rebuild, rebuild. Like, don't be like, we're always going to have winning baseball. Well, no, we haven't. So rebuild it.
That was
Okay.
a really good DeWitt. I thought that was him, to be honest.
The second thing that I wanted to specifically ask you two about that came up, and I hadn't really put this together in terms of Cardinals attendance, is talking about the economic headwinds
Mm,
of COVID. And then they were mentioning things about the city of St. Louis itself, as in people don't feel safe, parking is bad.
I mean,
And so I wanted to talk about our experience that we had this year. Did either of you feel like nervous? Of course, we
Not
didn't
in the
we didn't go we
slightest.
didn't go to a night game, so it wasn't dark. There's that. But I didn't feel. Of course, this is a bunch of 6 foot dudes walking around St. Louis with their
just
families.
jacked too. I mean, you can't even believe it.
Incredibly handsome. Just it's
Yeah,
really stunning, you know.
yeah, yeah.
However, I can understand when he said that, I thought to myself, okay, in this area, St. Louis is like known as like the place right now for gun violence. Like it is like memed on in Southern Illinois and the surrounding area. Like, well, careful, St. Louis, it's crazy over there. Some of that is like just stuff and that's just political where we
Yeah.
are everywhere of just everyone saying things like that. But I was interested in getting your two thoughts specifically. You have been to way more stadiums than I have. Are there things happening around the country that you say that you wish the Cardinals would implement in terms of addressing perhaps this weird thing of like safety to the people who attend?
Matt, go ahead. You've been to a few more than me, I think, but go ahead.
Is there
I
anything that you
this
see?
is all excuses to me. It's all excuses. Attendance in baseball was up this year. More people watched on TV. More people went to games. Like this, it grew exponentially amongst baseball, and it's down in St. Louis because we're not good. Because this fan base is sick of it. Does perceived violence in St. Louis? I don't know. I did not feel unsafe. I wasn't hesitant. I have two daughters. My wife. I just wasn't hesitant whatsoever. All of this stuff struck me as excuses and whining, and just kind of a way to like put like a red why can't I think of what do you put in front of a bull? I'm having a stroke right now live.
A
Like
bowl?
like a
A
cape?
bull.
Oh,
Yeah,
a
a red
bull. Oh,
cape.
yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
think
yeah.
of the word cape. My God.
Uh,
Just a red cape in front of a bull is just like,
Yeah.
look at this. Oh,
like a
look at this.
scapegoat?
Was
Yeah.
that how you
Well,
felt, Jonathan?
I don't know. Yes. Let me just say, and bringing it up in this context is super weird because Andy, what you're saying about kind of some of the misnomers and some of the generalizations of St. Louis did not happen in 2025. They were also there in 2011. They were there in 2014. They were there in
Yes.
2018. They've been there forever, and we have led attendance, or, well, we've been up at the top all those years. So it's not like that was a brand new thing. With that said, of all the stadiums I have been to, St. Louis is towards the bottom when it comes to just like experience and getting there. All these other teams, it's so easy. The area's nicer. That's just an indictment of St. Louis in general. You
Right.
walk 3 blocks out of the direction, you got windows blown out. It looks awful.
Yes.
That is just the truth of St. Louis.
Right.
That is not a direct correlation to why people are not attending. So like just using that as a well, if
As a bullet point on their
if we
talking point.
had this, they would have been here. I don't agree with that. I do think that if you want to separate that and say, it would be awesome if Ballpark Village and Busch Stadium was not the only like serviceable thing in downtown St. Louis. It would be nice because then it maybe would attract other people. And there's plenty of examples I could see. But in this context, to your point, Matt,
That's not even anything they
super
can
weird.
control,
No,
though.
exactly. You control the team, win games, they'll show up.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that's an overarching thing. It was just very interesting to me. I was like, are there? I've not truly been.
It's just a weird thing to say.
It's just weird. Yeah, it was, and I was like, are the Cardinals not doing something that other places are doing?
No.
Like, what
No.
can you do? Like, you can't. I mean, unless, like Jonathan, what you're saying is just like the area around Bush. Like, but how is they're not?
That's not their problem. Control what you can control. Put a winning team out there, people will show up. Period. Next topic. That's
Here's the
literally
thing.
it.
Bottom line is, it's Heim time, and thank God it's Heim time. I'm so tired of that. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, was it Jonathan? Was it during
Yeah.
Chaim's presser or Moe's? Where who is the young? Is that Bill
Bill DeWitt the
Jr.'s
third.
the junior?
Yeah. Junior
Okay.
squared.
Okay,
Yes.
was that Moe's or Himes where he was like message received? Which one was that?
That was Heim's.
Himes. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's move into Himes then, because that was my next bullet point. Was like
Oh man.
that was the most forward thing I think I like beyond all the fluff was just like the attendance. And if that's a message, that message has been received. Good, because
Yeah.
no one around here cares about the Cardinals. I'm glad that that would
Yeah.
be the number one thing I would tell anyone in that brass up there. No one cares about your product right now. Fix it. No one cares.
Do you know why he said that, though? It's because last year he gave an interview and they asked him about the fall. The third was like, well, if you want to hurt the team, it doesn't make any sense not to come out and support your team. The payroll will fall. And like, it really ticked people off because
Yeah.
ticket prices going up, everything, they just continue to climb everything, all their prices. And so people were really, really mad about his comments there. And so that was like a mea culpa. Sorry, we get it now. But just that first comment, I don't know. Bill DeWitt Jr. has had some success in the Cardinals. Bill DeWitt the third, frankly, hasn't done anything at all. And so I need less of Bill DeWitt the third talking. And if Bill DeWitt Jr. is getting too old, then It's
Yeah.
kind that is more worrisome than anything we've talked about is the DeWitts to me.
Yep.
And I think you can feel that presence in those pressers, both of them, that they're restricted and they can't say anything. And I was going to say this earlier, real quick. I feel like America has gotten used to our politics is just much more direct, for better or for worse. And they say stuff, they meme stuff, they joke stuff. And then for you to get up, Andy, you said this earlier, and just give us PR spin and schmutz,
Yeah.
people just don't respond to that as well anymore. And I kind of think the bedrock of that is the DeWitts.
I think you're right.
I mean,
I think
based
you're
on what
right.
I saw, look, as a casual Cardinals fan, I can honestly say I have never heard that man speak in my entire life.
Impressive,
That
wasn't
was
it?
the first time that I've heard them talk, and I felt my own sphincter clenching, like I had to
Ooh.
Oh
get all
no.
like, hey,
Yeah.
like say everything just perfect. Don't, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't,
Yeah.
he's
Had
just
to get the butt wipes
uptight.
out.
Yeah, he's just uptight.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand how maybe they're kind of saying, I hope so. I hope old Junior really meant what he said because golly, is it not the truth? So
Yep.
be careful. So Haim himself,
Hmm.
Yep.
first thing he said after he gave his Oscar acceptance speech was the fact of he reflected on these last 1.5, 2 years that he's had to spend time to get to know that organization and said, what is it that the Cardinals do at its best? And it says, he said that at its best, the Cardinals set the standard for all of baseball. And obviously, that's really nice to hear.
Mm.
But then he went through and walked through memory lane of all the times that the Cardinals did that. And he hammered several times during that it came down to player development or innovating something new. Creating the farm system was the Cardinals, something like that. And so I appreciated very much that. Jonathan,
Yeah.
Matt, anything about the opening, what you're hearing from Haim, even if it's Matt is just he's clicking the safety belts in, and what did he actually say? Is it? I, that's we're not where we need to be, right? That's what he's kind of saying. We
Hmm.
need to get back to what Jonathan you alluded to, the bread and butter. Why did we ever leave underneath Mel? This is why we need to get back to it, Matt.
Yeah, this is where I really wanted him to say more. Like I wanted it to be more visceral.
Yes.
And I realize, with a little more hindsight, and that was never going to be the case. And this is probably about the strongest that you could possibly say it.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, when Mo's like, yeah, we got to get back to innovating, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's obviously passed you by. Chaim, I have right now from this moment in October, I have faith that that is a thing that can actually happen. And so it just feels different when he says it than when Mo says something like this. But what you're
Yeah.
talking about in general, I'm a history teacher, so sorry for this dorky history analogy. It's like we're the Roman Empire in the 300s, looking back to the Caesars. We always have to be like, look what we used to be, look what we
Uh,
used to do. That is so hurtful. And if there's anything that happens, I really hope that we can get back to that. I appreciate that he said it. I wanted
yeah.
him to say it more hardcore, but I think
Yeah.
he has a chance of actually doing that.
Because he did talk about the minor league stuff, right, Jonathan? Like
Yeah.
he did mention the fact someone asked him,
Mm.
are you gonna make any more changes? He said, obviously not big ones like we did last year, but there are some more tweaks that I'd like to
Hmm.
make. So,
Yeah, this whole Heim being here is why I felt safe. The vibe check at the beginning was he completely helped change the Tampa Bay Rays with Andrew Friedman. Andrew Friedman is like the godfather of all of this stuff. He's now the GM of the Dodgers with an unlimited amount of resource, and look what they're doing. Their farm
mhm.
system's unreal, and they have the best players. It's really not fair. He takes that knowledge, goes to Boston, and builds the number one farm system in just a few years. And if the Red Sox did not Red Sox, right, and make him trade Mookie Betts because Mookie didn't want to, or they didn't want to pay him, the Red Sox are fine, and he's probably still there. Their starter tonight for the game, Heim Bloom drafted him, right? All these guys that they're bringing up, this is all Heim Bloom stuff. So when I sat here and I reflected on Heim's presser, I feel safe because if St. Louis ain't going to spend money because of the DeWitts or whatever the constraints he's going to have that Mo had, Heim can build a freaking minor league system, and that is desperately what we need. So if he gives us PR stuff for the next couple of years, I don't even care as long as if he builds a farm system and we continue and we start to flourish, this is what he can do. So adding to the farm system, he talked a lot about like over communicating and synergies between the departments and
They're all
all that
about that.
stuff.
They love that. Yeah.
I love it. There's like I'm sure there's PowerPoints with like the graphics, that pop up
Mm.
really fast.
Yeah.
This is all great. I just feel safe because he has done this and had a track record of doing this, and this is exactly what we need.
The
Can I ask you guys a
overarching.
question real quick? When does he need to start delivering?
Yeah, I
Well,
was
okay, you
just
were about
about
to ask
to
something.
lead
Okay.
into that. Yeah, of just like because listener, if you didn't listen to it, the overarching theme of it was not only getting back to the roots of the player development, like we just talked about, but also he kept on. I don't know how many times the poor man, had to keep saying, "We're for long-term stability. I'm making decisions what's best long-term of what I'm trying to build in the future." So like someone would ask a question, is there any free agents that we're going after this year? Like and he's like, well, I'll never say no, and it depends on what's on our front
Yeah.
door, but we'll never make a decision. I'm looking. I was like,
Yeah.
why did he answer that question like that? He said long-term stability, all that kind of thing. He said it honest to God like 6 or 7 times. I was like, and no one had the presence of mind to ask him, hey, Chaim, Mr. Bloom, what is your concept of long-term stability? What do you
Yeah.
see for the Cardinals? Like any question about the long-term stability? No, they kept on asking short-term things. So that's kind of
Yeah.
tipped me off of like what you just asked, Matt. I don't know. Are we pulling a 76ers where we have to trust his process until Embiid finally comes into his final Super Saiyan form? Or, like what is happening? That moment made me
Uh-huh.
think, oh, but then he kept on saying, but what's amazing to him and his experience with all of these things that you guys just listed is that if they focus on the long term, how quickly that transitions to short term success as well. So my question,
Uh-huh.
my toss up to you is that Heim has an easy 3 years for me. As long as there's movement toward like we're seeing like, oh man, like that's it. There's
Yeah.
tangible
Yeah.
differences between those 3 years. It's not like getting worse. He has 1 year for it to go down. He better level out and then start coming up, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Matt,
Jonathan, what do you have?
I wondered this. My initial knee-jerk reaction is 3 years. However, he was given essentially 2 years to prep this.
He did.
He was given 2 years to prep this. So I'm going to shave a year down and say 2 years. We need to be doing something. I'm hoping. Now, here's the only caveat with that is that he's not controlling the drafts. Okay. When those prospects start to come into the play, like this isn't JJ Weatherholt or Liam Doyle. This is the draft 2026 draft and forward. I think it's 2 to 3 years. You need to see some like realistic prospect, impact to the major league roster. Matt, what did you think?
I think from this is just me as a fan talking. He has a complete blank check for next year. I'm
Oh, agreed.
probably
Oh yeah.
not going to criticize him at all. And even if he's just saying the PR stuff, I'm just going to stay patient because this is a hole that we're in, and this is not a quick fill-in job. Like I think you have to kind
No.
of dig down.
And he said
So
that.
right, if by 2027, even if our major league team is not good, but I see these guys popping off in the minors, that's enough for me because that is his specialty. His specialty is the foundation, the roots, the minor league system. That stuff you can see, and frankly. I'm not sure we couldn't see some stuff happening already in 2025. I mean, I think he's
Yeah.
already making me feel pretty good. So as far as the major league team is concerned, if it's 2028 until we're ready to like really
Go.
compete, that's okay with me. Even if it's 2029, I'm not going to love that, but I'll stay patient with the process as long as I see these minor league guys popping up and popping off. Is that fair? Like, is that a
Yeah.
reasonable time frame? I mean, I think it's going to take a little time here. We're going to have some patience.
Which
Yeah.
means to the casual fans, that's going to be kind of a little
It's
bit
going to
of
be
death
ugly.
sentence.
Yep.
It's going to be hard, but let me say this. It's annoying to hear him say we're not going to concede anything, right? And I know
Yes.
that that's hard to hear, but teams like the Rockies don't say things like that, and they're abysmal. And the White
True.
Sox don't say things like that, or they do say things like that, excuse me, and they're terrible. We were essentially 6 games away from being the Reds this year,
Yep.
and nobody expected us to do anything. If our players overperform their projections, or maybe some dudes pop off, or this crop of what seemingly unbelievable AA talent pitchers starts to do something, timelines will move to the left quickly
Yeah.
because sneaking into the wild card, I know we saw the Reds get kind of obliterated here, but anything can happen in baseball. And we
Anything.
just have to put that filter on top of it that I know we're saying 2028, 2029. That's just giving us some padding and some realisticness behind drafting and developing, excuse me, is not a free agent signing way to fix things. But that does not necessarily mean we cannot be better. I don't expect us to make the playoffs next year. But hey, you add some, add on the fringes here. Who knows? We could have been a playoff team this year. So I
I
just thought
also
of that
need
as
to
well.
see stuff like he talked about this. We're gonna have to probably go after some starters in free agency.
Yeah.
I want to be more creative. I don't know if this is possible or not, but I want to be more creative than Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, for the love of God, Miles Michaelis. I would rather do this like weird, like, oh, we just found Riley O'Brien and we made him out of nothing. Whoa, there's Kyle Leahy. We made him
Yeah.
into a starter. If I start seeing stuff like that happen, then I'm really gonna give him, a much longer rope because that is a real skill and a real talent. And that's kind of this may not be fair. That's kind of my expectation for him and this group that we
Yeah.
start doing that kind of stuff.
I think we're just starved for something different. We are
Yeah.
starved for Matt. I don't know how many times over the multiple years, and now Andy, you've heard this in this year. We need to cut bait on certain guys, make decisions, be
hmm
bold. I
hmm
know we wanted him to, come in here, like I said at the top, and rip contracts up and like punch DeWitt in the face and be like, "It's my show now."
Yeah.
But I get why he did what he did.
God, that would have
But
been awesome.
this offseason, I was going to ask you guys this. He specifically with the press pool, he talked about the duplication of certain
Yeah.
lefties, right? Donnie, Burley, Newt, Gorman. He talked about how big of an offseason it was for both Gorman and Walker. And I thought to
Yeah, it
myself,
is.
oh my Lord, are we going to roll Walker and Gorman back out there? And we very well, we might do that. But he's also could be playing a little bit of 4D chess here where he's not tanking anybody's value. So what we're really going to know is November, December, January. If he starts moving people out, that is where I'm like, hand clap. Finally, something different. Mo would not have done this. This is what I want to see. So I'm going to reserve my like long-term judgments of like the offseason
hmm
or next year until we see what he's done. What has he done? Did he trade? What if he trades Burley? Nobody thinks we're going to do that to get Brian Wu or something like that. Like something crazy from like that's what I want to see. Is I want to see us rewrite some of these things that Mo would just have never done. Matt, kind of to your point.
That follow-up stuff with the writers, sorry, Andy, to jump in here, but that was the stuff I thought was the strongest from him.
Yeah.
That he
Yeah.
was like Arenado, Gray, Contreras. Yeah, we're probably going to look to deal with them. They talked about the duplication and the redundancy of the lefties. Walker and Gorman, get Blooming or get out. And then he talked about the core pieces being Wynn and Herrera, and he said the right names from the minors. And I was like, okay, this guy's seeing the board
Yeah,
the
he
way I
knows.
want us to see the board. And now whether Walker works out right, that like there is only so
hmm
much that these guys can do, but at least we're
hmm
seeing the board the right way. I too am going to be fascinated by the moves we make and what that says.
Yeah, because I think like I mean, you nailed it, Jonathan. You're not just gonna go
Yeah.
and dog the players,
Mm-mm.
and when you're gonna try to move them, if you're trying to move them,
Yeah.
you
Well,
wouldn't
and
do that.
and have we not just established a very concrete laid out argument that Mo had failed the minor leagues for we don't know how many years specifically, right? There were many articles written in the Athletic and other published works where we had the league's lowest amount of instructors, our scouts were low, and this is where Jordan Walker, that was his minor league experience. That was
Yeah.
Nolan Gorman's experience. That was Dylan Carlson. I can't tell you when it started, right? But I can tell you where it
To that
ended.
extent, that stuff is on Mo.
But that's what I'm saying.
You may have a perfect
Mhm.
ecosystem for them and they still may not pop, but we did not have that.
So I just kind of feel a little sad for those guys because like what could have
hmm
been. Maybe it has nothing to do with that. I don't know. But what's been so painfully obvious is that we might have failed these guys. And I hope we didn't fail JJ. It doesn't seem like it. He can't stop hitting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's what I hope with Chaim and all of the synergies you talked about moving forward is that you get some randos like Matt Carpenter again. You get some
Yeah.
randos that come up and like they don't have a negative WRC plus. Jimmy
Mm.
Crooks, sorry buddy, I was talking about you there.
Mm. Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, it wasn't like earth-shattering, but just the fact that he mentioned how they're treating the players every step of the way, like in the weight room. with the trainers.
Yeah, that is nice.
That like he went out of his way to like mention just follow the trail of what it's like day to day for a player and the ways that they can support them. Like I said, that's not earth-shattering stuff. Anybody that would be in that position, but the fact that he said it
Yeah.
said something to me that like he's going to, I can start to see why he had success whenever he's thinking about all those details of like how can he improve everything that the players come in contact with. What's the best way? Their training program that they're doing, lifting inside the weight room. I'm sure they all have a program. I
Yeah.
would hope, but just the fact that he was cognizant enough and in an important presser like that to mention that that was what he's going to do from the forefront made me comfortable. As like, okay, good, this is why he's good at developing players because he actually
Yeah.
thinks about and cares about what the players are going through and what they're doing.
And
Yep.
I hope he knows. This was my last thought on the whole Heim thing. I hope. I mean, he's a Yale graduate. This guy's a smart dude. Worked under Friedman. We know what he's done with the Dodgers. Went to Boston, did a really good job. Was dealt a bad hand with the Mookie thing, and the Red Sox. It's just a totally different environment. I just really hope that he does not do the same things Mo does because he's going to get people to be frustrated with him very quickly. Right? He is. He has got to do meaningful things differently. Like he talked about in this podcast I listened to outside. It was the Cardinals Insider with Chip and Brad. We want to try to be transparent and show you some things that are happening in the background. He's gonna have to see the scars and the pain and try to fix those things because you can't totally tell me that people weren't showing up in the seats because of Mo too. I know this the team was largely not bad like all year. I think it was just this stink, this frustration over the past couple of years. That is almost, in my opinion, as important as him rebuilding the team. Is like he's going to have to really build back the trust here, and I think you'll see people come back.
Well, that
That's
was
well said.
my last takeaway too, is that the DeWitts are going to have to thicken up their skin a little bit here. People are frustrated. This is not in a good spot, and he's going to have to be able to say something that the way you get people's trust back is to just tell them the truth. And if he's having to hot foot it around because the DeWitts are too thin skinned, like, sorry guys, you're billionaires. Put on your big boy pants. We need to talk about this with the fans. Sorry.
Yeah, and I found it interesting. My last thing was one of the very last things that was said is that Bill DeWitt Jr. and Chaim, as of Tuesday, had not spoken about what the payroll is going to be for this coming season. And so I was I took that as a hopeful thing that like Chaim has him so like just like hooked in, like he doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it's just like all this flashy stuff, and he doesn't like Chaim kind of did it. There's a sales technique where you don't shop for the customer. Like you may not buy it yourself because you don't have that money. But who's to say that they wouldn't like that? They see value in that and they're gonna blow $500 where you wouldn't blow $500.
Mm.
Now just multiply those numbers by a couple of zeros. And maybe that's what Haim's doing, is just like showing the DeWitts like some type of vision and hasn't really got he's got flash and he hasn't really told them what it's gonna cost yet. Of like, by the way, to do all this, its overhaul is gonna be
Uh-huh.
$2 billion or something
Yeah.
stupid like that. Did you guys find it interesting that apparently, first of all, do we believe that they truly haven't spoken about payroll at all as of Tuesday, this past Tuesday for this
He,
coming season?
I think he got him by the collar of the shirt before he went in there and slammed up against the wall and said, "You got $100. You can spend it all in one place, or you cannot. Don't hold your breath on the payroll, Matt. I'm assuming that's what you're going to say."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna show the YouTube listeners what I think that means for our payroll, and I think it means this. And my finger just pointed down. I think that is not something they want to introduce in Heim's opening press conference because the news is going to be bad and payroll is going to go down. And I think Heim knows that. So
Now, if they can say the payroll for the major league roster is going to stay even, or maybe we add a little, but we are continuing to invest real dollars down here. Here's what it's doing. Just lay it out for the common folk
exactly,
here, people. Like we're
exactly.
said, just lay it out for us.
Yep, agree.
Well, is there anything this coming week that we're looking for? I'm excited. You said that you don't have any dogs in this race, Matt, but I am. The last thing I'm excited about is watching what Big Dumper can do, and I saw where his coach, I'm pretty sure is the manager, said that he doesn't really want Big Dumper on the bases clogging up the bases. He wants them up there hacking, and
Lunging.
I'm just there for that. I am. That's the kind of person I am. Like, he doesn't want to. Who cares about hitting for average? Just the Schwarber, just go up there, hack it, baby. Let her rip, tater chip.
Man.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I'll keep, watching these games on and off as I can. And I think we should just adopt the Seattle Andes as our, as our rooting
I was gonna
interest.
say.
See if we can just get our Cardinal stink on them and just maybe we can reverse jinx them somehow. I don't know. But yeah, I'm all in on the Mariners. Love their color scheme. Loved Griffey as a kid. Was left-handed. Tried to emulate him. Sucked. But you know what I mean. Like their stadium's nice. Seattle's cool. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on the Mariners. I like it.
Do you guys do you care at all if somebody passes us for number 2 in World Series?
I'd prefer not, but whatever.
Because the two closest would be the Dodgers and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Now, the Dodgers is inevitable. It's like the Thanos thing, right? Nothing we can do about that. I do not want the Red Sox to win.
No.
They've just taken too much. And I don't think I can watch the Cubs win.
No.
Like, Milwaukee, I don't want them to, but
no.
Would it hurt me? The Cubs, I don't know why it would hurt me more, right? So if the Cubs do win, I hope Milwaukee thrashes them, right? And then I hope Milwaukee gets thrashed. It's like it's order of operations once you get to this part of it. So I feel safe.
You may be rooting for Thanos then. Just be careful.
I'm rooting for the AL. I'm going for the Mariners.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I'm
Well,
Cap
big
with the
dumper,
beard.
baby. Come on.
Yeah.
It's the
REI. You got it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Redbird Rundown, your go-to source for St. Louis Cardinals news. Please subscribe. I can never get that one right. Sorry, guys. Rate and review the show to help us grow. Follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube for the latest news. As always, keep those value caps on, and let's go Cards.
Big dumper.
Big dump.